things we miss each year as the backyard farmer season comes to an end is to remind our friends and family to exclude fall invading insect pests. These insects, such as the boxelder bug or the multicolored Asian lady beetle, are common, unwanted house guests that like to spend the cold winter in our warmer, human-constructed buildings.
Insects are cold-blooded, and they require the heat from the environment to survive. This is why we see them during the warmer months of the year, in the spring, summer, and the fall. We often see them in the mornings, those bees and the butterflies warming up in the sun so they can become active. And during the winter, they require temperatures between 40 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit to survive.
Despite the cold temperatures that we endure during the winter, insects continue to survive by employing strategies such as freeze avoidance and freeze tolerance. Some insects produce antifreeze proteins to help them survive in sub-zero temperatures, while others use cryoprotectants to reduce the formation of ice.
Other insects like the monarch butterfly and the green darner dragonfly migrate south to survive the winters. Less mobile insects like white grubs, they will burrow underground. Other insects will hide in leaf litter or in plant stems to survive the winter. And then the insects we're talking about today overwinter inside with us.
The most common overwintering pests have these things in common. They aggregate in large numbers due to signals from the environment. They gather on the south and west side of exterior walls to gain entry. They spend the winter indoors in the adult stage of their life cycle. They do not feed nor reproduce while indoors. They will become active again during warm, sunny days to make their way back outside, and they have the potential to cause damage, such as releasing unpleasant odors, staining surfaces, and leaving behind fecal spots around doors and windows.
Now we're going to talk about some of the usual suspects, our common overwintering pests here in Nebraska. The first one that we'll talk about is the boxelder bug. They're pretty common. We see them outside in the garden. And during the spring and summer months, they feed on the seeds of boxelders, maples, and ash trees, but they rarely cause any damage. They're about 1/2 inch long, they're black with red markings, and they've got red eyes.
Brown marmorated stink bugs are about 5/8 inches long, shield-shaped, mottled brown with alternating dark and light bands on the edges of their abdomen with 2 white bands on their antennae. Aside from being an overwintering pest, they are also pests of specialty crops such as fruits, vegetables, and nuts.
Next we have the multicolored Asian lady beetle. These are a type of ladybug, but a little bit bigger. They're about 1/3 of an inch long, and they may be orange, yellow, or red, and they may have 0 to 19 spots. One of their most distinguishing characteristics is the broken or solid M shape that is located behind their head.
Cluster flies are larger than the average housefly, being up to 3/16 inches long with dense golden hairs on their body. In the spring and summer, adult cluster flies feed on fruit, plant sap, and flowers, while their maggots are actually parasitoids of earthworms, so they're commonly found near irrigated lawns and pastures.
Sometimes we get vespid queens found overwintering inside the structure. These are the fertilized female wasps after the annual colonies have collapsed. This includes paper wasps and yellow jackets. Sometimes they're found indoors, in the basements, or in chimneys. There's not a nest inside, just the overwintering queens.
To manage overwintering pests, it's best to prevent them from coming inside in the first place through minimizing aggregation and excluding them from buildings before fall. To minimize aggregation, you need to reduce favorable habitat by removing things like vegetation, clutter, and leaf litter around the foundation, as well as other items such as firewood and plant pots. Inspect all items from outside before bringing them in to keep your home pest-free.
To exclude pests from the building, you want to make sure to close doors when they're not in use. You want to make sure that you've got tight-fitting window screens with no rips and tears. You also want to make sure the gaps are eliminated while insects are climbing upward. So check and repair those soffits and the fascia. Any gaps or cracks or holes leading into the building need to be sealed. So there are sealants, caulks, mesh, weep hole covers, and chimney dampers, top-down chimney dampers, that will keep those pests out from those areas. The good thing is there are many durable hardware that can be used to keep those pests out, and weather stripping will not only save you money by keeping that cold air out, but it'll keep those pests out too.
If these overwintering pests do get in, do not smash or crush them. These pests tend to release putrid odors and can stain items like curtains, carpet, and walls. We do not recommend the use of insecticide to manage these pests after they're already indoors. Not only is it ineffective, but the dead insects also create a food source for carpet beetles. The best way to contain these insects is to use a vacuum, and you can use the pantyhose method to keep them contained while also keeping your vacuum stink-free.
If you do hire a professional pest management company to treat for overwintering pests, the most effective treatment will be a well-timed late summer residual insecticide labeled for the treatment sites where overwintering pests aggregate. Once they become pests indoors, it is too late to treat with spraying. If your house has a history of these fall invading pests, it is likely that your house will be targeted again in the future. Remember that no residual insecticide will be as effective as exclusion, but this must be done in the fall.
So, as we move through the seasons and into the late summer, remember to reduce that buggy habitat and exclude overwintering pests from sharing your home.